Good morning and welcome to Purpose Driven Finances, where our focus is helping you use your finances to achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And now here's the host of Purpose Driven Finances, Allan Molina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning. This is Allan Molina, your host, Purpose Driven Finances, President of Serwus Capital Management. How are you doing this glorious, glorious Saturday? And for those of you listening, going to church or hanging out, 8:30 Sunday mornings. Sitting here enjoying the weather. I kind of miss having all the snow. You know, it's been exciting. A whopping 3 inches in my house over in Evington, but it's a glorious time. Now, folks, we have two guests today. Rich is in Bermuda. You need to hit him up. You know, he's enjoying the sun, and so we have Biscuit.
Hello. Good morning.
Hey, thank you, Biscuit, for pinch hitting.
Of course.
And you always do a great job.
Well, thank you. You're too kind.
And then we have a friend of mine, Jeff Nentz. He is the CEO of 518.
Good morning, Allan.
Good to see you. No, not Rich. What the heck? Jeff, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And folks, what we're going to do is, as we always do, we're going to take about, I'm hoping 10 to 12 minutes, because we want to give Jeff as much time to chat about a great thing that he helps lead here in Lynchburg, 518. But let's talk about portfolios in the market, just to give you the purpose-driven finances take on what's happening. Now, on Wednesday, the Fed lowered interest rates by 25 basis points. What's amazing is there is a poly market. I don't know if you ever heard of it. You guys ever heard of the poly market?
I think so.
Poly market, you can bet on anything. That's really what it is. I mean, it's, you know, that's really what it is.
That's the big thing, like during election season, right? Is the people that are like,
right.
And that's kind of, it's not necessarily kind of like you would for sports betting, where it's like we think this person is going to win, but this is like legitimately, this is what people are putting their money towards.
Yes, but it's also, there was a CEO, I can't remember the exact, I'm thinking one of the bigger tech firms, went out on poly market. There was words that they expected him to say, and there's people betting on it. So he took the list and he read it.
That's awesome.
It is. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And so it's amazing what's on poly market. And so basically, not only that, but the federal fund futures that on the CBOE, they were expecting, I think it was a 90% chance that the Fed was going to lower rates by 25 basis points. But what really caught everybody by surprise is the quantitative tightening was finished 13 days ago. What was surprising is they came out with quantitative easing. Mm-hmm. They're going to be buying about $40 billion a month in 0 to 3 year treasuries going up to April. And it may even go longer. And that kind of caught the market by surprise, because realistically, that's probably a half cut to a full cut of additional liquidity. And guys, I know I put it on the notes. You may have read it. But I was surprised why they're expecting to need all that extra cash.
Why is that?
Because they expect a large number of higher tax, come on, Allan, refunds. Mm-hmm. And so that we need the cash. And so the interesting thing is they call it the reverse management purchases, RMP. And so unpacking that, next year, if people are getting a lot of refunds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always have the right word, Jeff. And so what ends up happening is, people, they're going to be spending a whole lot of money, you know, because most people do not take, in America, we don't save money. In Japan, they do. Mm-hmm. But that's one issue in America why we have such an issue with GDP, because the average American doesn't save.
Yeah.
And I think, what do they have, like 2 or 3% money is saved on a yearly basis for the average American, which isn't very much. And so what's going to end up happening with lower interest rates, there's going to be a steepening yield curve, which means probably the longer-term treasuries are going to go up a little bit or stay where they are, and the lower-term treasuries are going to go down, so it's going to be a steepening yield curve. What does that really mean? Really means it's going to be a boost for risk assets and growth sector, small caps. So it's going to be kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Jeff. I know you haven't been on the show before, but I talk about quads. Quads are inflation and the economy, and I pay for my research a tremendous amount of money, and because I'm not a huge firm, and so I hire people to do the research for me, and all they do is research. They don't actually advise money, but they have a quad system, inflation and the economy, and they're very, very, very accurate as to what is happening. And so we're projecting a quad 1, which is inflation going down, economy going up, GDP probably 3.5% for the first quarter and maybe even the second quarter. So really good times.
If I can ask, why do they think that they're going to have to be giving out so many refunds to have to pull that type of money?
Right. Partly because the big beautiful bill, or some people wouldn't call it the big beautiful bill. They'd call it the big, I don't know what they call it, but they call it something.
Right.
That's part of the reason, is all of the changes in tax deductions, but also no tips are taxed. Like I have some clients and people I have prospected to be clients. They make $30,000 in tips, but they're
being taxed on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is all of those, and then overtime. Like my son, he works for CSE. He was getting a tremendous amount of overtime, but what ends up happening is, when he files his taxes, all the taxes he paid on overtime
just goes out the window.
Or it's going to go back to him.
Oh, yes.
And so, and then other things, and I could go deeper, but I don't want to bore people.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If people end up with more money in their pocket,
right,
because of refunds being larger, right, and not being taxed on their tips and such, how is that not going to turn out like what we experienced with COVID, where people had extra bucks in their pocket given by the government,
right,
and we saw a significant increase in inflation? But you just mentioned inflation's projected to go down here in the first.
Right. I don't think it's I don't think it's going to be quite the magnitude of everybody getting thousands of dollars from the U.S. government.
Okay.
I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as much.
Okay.
But also, I think the Federal Reserve. Do I really believe it's because of taxes? Not really. I think because if you looked at Powell's when he did the press conference, Wednesday between 2:30 and 3:30, he wasn't as hawkish and he wasn't as ornery. That's not really the best term, but he wasn't as verbose as he had normally been. And so I'm wondering if the political had gotten to him, because his tenure's close to being up.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some drama, I think, in January of who's going to be elected the next Fed chair. But I think realistically, the Fed is like, we need to do this. And they're using the government shutdown to give them some, okay, we can, and the illegal immigrants being taken out, changes to unemployment. And so with all of that, I don't think it's going to be that drastic number of the refunds. And so another reason why inflation is going down is the largest, I think, impact in inflation is rents, but also oil. And if you see the oil prices and the gas prices, they're going down. And so that's the expectation. And it would be my expectation that a lot of people who, in COVID, who took the money, a lot of people got it who weren't working, and they put it into things that they really didn't need. But also, there was a big glut in the high-end market because of, I think, a lot of times fraud. People who knew about money or know about money and can manipulate the system. My company wasn't big enough. But even if it was, I couldn't have taken it because I didn't lose any money. Actually, my income grew in 2020 just because people were freaking out in how I manage money. Is it that tax credit that was going around, and I don't remember the name of it.
PPP?
No, it was ERWCC maybe, or it was basically if you kept the people employed, you got a high number of
ERC.
Yeah,
the ERC. Yeah,
and
credit.
A lot of, from my understanding, there was a lot of fraud around that. A lot of companies didn't really lose anybody.
Yeah,
but yet and so.
Yeah, the ERC, the Employee Retention Credit.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and I've heard it was into the billions, and there's a lot of situations to where it really wasn't legitimate. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but I think it's a great question. Great question. One last thing is Oracle. They came out this week, and if you looked at it on Thursday, the Oracle was down, I think, at 1.678%, which is a lot for a tech company. And the reason being is they came out and said we're going to be spending in 2026 over $50 billion in basically capex or capex. My pronunciations isn't very great today.
That's okay.
Calling Jeff Rich, what the heck, man? They look a little different, just a little bit.
Well,
just a little bit.
There's a noticeable difference.
Noticeable.
Yeah,
exactly. But
couple inches or so.
Right. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Rich isn't here, so we're giving him a hard time. But the biggest thing that Oracle's doing is a massive increase in their AI infrastructure, and they even made it to where if people bring their own NVIDIA chips, they won't charge them as much, which is, I think, kind of interesting. And so basically, people are like, that's kind of crazy because it's an additional $15 billion of what they're already spending. And so there's cracks forming in the AI area, just like we've talked about. Now, folks, we're going to do a 30-second commercial. I haven't given you my phone number, 434-316-0246. Do me a favor. Got a new website. It's the same address, servuscm.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think of it. And we'll catch you back in 30 seconds.
Hey, this is Jonathan Falwell, pastor of Thomas Road Baptist Church, and we want to invite you to come out to be a part of all that God is doing at Thomas Road. Whether it's through our groups program, whether it's through worship on Sunday mornings, our sports programs, camp programs, all of the different things that we have each and every week, we have something for you. And so I want to encourage you, go to our website at trbc.org to check out all the opportunities where you can connect and become part of a church that loves God and that loves people. Join us today.
And now, back to Purpose-Driven Finances. Here's Allan Molina with Servus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning again. Allan Molina, your host, Purpose-Driven Finances, president of Servus Capital Management, helping you achieve the purpose and plan for your life, helping you through financial planning and portfolio management. Now, folks, give me a call, 434-316-0246. I know you're like, Allan, I don't want to talk finances till January. That's fine. Just remember to give me a call, because remember my number. And I'm not talking about the Jersey Mike's number. It's 434-316-0246. Sitting here.
Jersey Mike's number is?
I think 17, 19.
Something like that.
I don't know. I'm not a foodie. I feel bad for my wife. She's like, I got to figure out what I want to eat. We go to the same restaurant. Mm-hmm. She wants something different. I'm like, I know what I'm getting.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized after COVID, I don't have great taste buds. So this is too much information, isn't it? So let's get to the meat of the show, which is Jeff Nintz. He is the CEO of 518 here in Lynchburg. And the show is really investing in our community. And folks, this is finances, harvesting a tax break. And so in December, our goal was to have 3, but we only have 2 charities we're going to talk about. And wanted to highlight 518. I consider Jeff a friend. We volunteer together as Rotarians, but grown to admire Jeff and all he is. So, Jeff, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy week just to be here.
This is my honor. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, Rich. Rich, what the heck? What the heck?
Jeff.
Jeff. It's Jeff.
Write it down in
What the
as
heck?
bold letters as you can.
Yes, it's Jeff. Why do I say that? What is going on?
There we go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate he really did. If there was a camera, I
If
would
you're
show
gonna call
you.
anybody rich, do it to me, not the guest.
Exactly. What the heck, man? What the heck? You know,
We're lookalikes, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you, Rich and I.
exactly. What the heck? My wife is like, Alan, what are you doing? As she's listening to the show. What are you doing, Alan? Okay, so the 518. So 518 focuses really on families and mentoring and just helping them. So Jeff, I want to really give the floor to you. What drives you personally, not just professionally, to do this work and what you're doing?
Yeah. So I care a lot about families. I just do. I grew up in a family, Alan, that I happen to be blessed with a mom and a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actively involved in my life as a youth person, as a kid. We had 7 kids in my family, so there weren't many nickels to rub together. We didn't have a lot, but we had a roof over our head. We had food. My mom was a good cook, is a good cook at age 94. I'm going to see her here tomorrow, actually.
That's awesome.
Out in Indiana. I was blessed with that. And I think, right, my experience, in part because of my career, I see a lot of kids that don't experience that consistency, that faithfulness of, being loved and seen and noticed and being encouraged to be all that they could be. And if anything, kind of where this starts for me is I want kids to experience, frankly, what I had growing up. The power, I've seen the power of a strong family can have in a young person's life, personally.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's great that you want to continue the legacy of a great trajectory. I came from the opposite. From my, Biscuit's like, come on, Alan.
There you go.
You've been doing this for 5 years. Speak into the mic. Come on, bro. Now
Got your back, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. I'm trying to get Verizon as
Yeah.
a sponsor. But Jeff, I'm the opposite. What I learned from my adopted dad and my biological was what not to do, and I had to change the trajectory. So I appreciate you investing in and impacting lives, so your trajectory can continue and flourish.
Yeah.
The seeds of your family are being planted across all the families that you serve.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific that happened in your life that said, hey, I want to serve at 518?
Yeah. Probably 2 things. So 2 kids came to my family by way of the foster care system. My wife and I fostered a number of kids, and 2 of our kids, joined us by way of adoption. And in those lives, my 2 daughters, my oldest 2 daughters, have just taught us so much on so many levels. But I also saw the impact of trauma in their lives, right? And so I just, in dealing with some of those needs, especially when they were younger, is pretty profound stuff. So that had a pretty profound impact on me. My reason for coming to 518, so my whole career has been involved in child welfare, working with kids that are, in or near the foster care system because of neglect or abuse. And I've seen the system work well, and I've seen the system work real poorly for kids, right? And especially when they become your kids, and you realize how the system helped and hurt your kids, right? When they become a part of your family, you get really invested in making sure that system becomes effective. And what drew me to 518, well, it was a phone call from our former chief program officer who I knew and was a friend of mine. But what 518 is, it was formerly called Patrick Henry Family Services. But what they're all about is about essentially saying, how do we dramatically improve the system of care for kids that are with families that are struggling? And again, no casting of aspersions to all the folks who are brave and doing great things in DHS and the local agencies that are doing that. We dream of a system that's radically different, about catching families earlier that are struggling and in really trying to prevent as much possible abuse and neglect. Because once that starts happening in kids' lives, each of those traumas that happen in kids' lives, they start having an impact, right? That extends into adulthood unless they can be addressed. And I want to prevent that from happening, right? I mean, if we want every person to live out their God-given abilities and their, the qualities that God has given them, then that means helping them get off to a great start in life whenever possible. And that's what we're about. And that's a personal passion of mine.
That's awesome. I love that. And, every person realistically in the world is called, whether they want to acknowledge or not, to take care of their family. And, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. And so we acknowledge that it's a God-given calling. But frankly, sometimes families, it's rough.
It is.
I remember growing up, we would have a quarter to a half a pound of pot in the freezer, and in kindergarten, I'm a problem solver. And so my family would, they'd be having their 70s parties, because I was born in 71. So this is like 76, 77, 70, probably 77, 76, somewhere in that range. And I was like, hey, you guys are smoking pot and falling, so I'm going to make you a pot pipe that you can roll in kindergarten. And so I did that. So I thank you for intervening. It would have been great for my life to have a 518, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
And you're impacting lives, so I appreciate that. So what are some of the biggest challenges you folks face?
Yeah, somebody just asked me that here recently. I would say two things. I think, what we're trying to accomplish with every child in a thriving family supported by a faithful community. That means every child in our community. If we want our families our community to be strong, it means making sure every one of our kids gets off to a great start in life, right? If every kid does, oh my goodness, right? Some of the biggest ills and struggles that we have in our Lynchburg community are going to be dealt with if we can get kids off to a great start, where they know I bring something to this world. I'm lovable, I'm capable, I'm competent, right? As opposed to I'm unlovable. So we recognize in order for every child to be in a thriving family, that requires a whole lot of people playing their part, right? And the neat thing is here in Lynchburg, we have lots of nonprofits that are serving, doing great things. We have the Boys and Girls Clubs, and so many fine organizations in their community, and that are doing great work. But we need many, many people stepping into the fray and saying, I think a lot of people know something's not right with the family next door to me or across the street from me. Something's going on there. What do I do, right? And our hope is to create an army of volunteers who are willing to say, I feel like I know what I could do and should do to help that family. I feel competent to step into that space and be a help and support to that single mom or that single dad who's struggling, or maybe it's a mom and dad who are just struggling with some issues. And so that's number one. Number two, the biggest, we need more folks to say, I'm willing to play my role. It's not everything. We can't do all the rescuing ourselves. But then the other thing is for folks to be able to say, I know I'm struggling, and this is the really hard thing. I need help. And to simply say, I'm willing to get help so I can be a better mom or dad, so I can get my kids off to a better start in life. And that means oftentimes going back and dealing with the stuff that happened in their childhood, right? Trauma is a generational cycle thing. It just keeps, unfortunately, giving and giving and giving to the next generation. But some parents can say, I need help, and I'm going to put this stuff to bed and not keep passing on to my kids and then my grandkids, my great-grandkids, the trauma that I experienced. And for folks to say, what we provide is a lot of counseling to help folks deal with that prior trauma and put it to bed. And that's the beautiful thing. And I would say how God made us is that we can heal from those painful wounds from childhood, so we don't have to keep passing that on.
Right.
How many families or kids do you guys get to work with in a year? And is it something that this is becoming, is that number getting bigger and bigger every year? Is it, kind of steady, or are you seeing less people? What are those numbers like?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you it's getting a lot smaller, right? We're putting ourselves out of the job. This last year, Anthony, we served 4,200 kids, a little over, and over 1,800 adults. So primarily focusing on again, the parents and then all of their kids. That's why there's a differential between those numbers. And we deal with some families that have quite a few kids. But that number has been growing, partly because we've been doing more services and that are growing. I mean, frankly, but if you talk to any of the nonprofit leaders here, they would say the level of need of families in our community has been growing. That just seems to be the reality. I'm not a sociologist. I'm a social worker by training, but I don't know what's causing all that. I suspect a lot of it's what I mentioned before, where generational trauma. If somebody doesn't say, I'm going to stop passing this on, I'm going to do my hard work so I don't keep passing it on, I think that it just keeps begetting more and more trauma.
Just perpetuates over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen families, I think one of the hardest things in a family is to change the generational trajectory. Mm-hmm. That's extremely hard.
It is.
And a lot of the men and women who have done that, they're the superheroes.
They are. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
The folks that say, I'm going to stop this generational cycle, it's going to stop with me. Hats off. They are the heroes. You're exactly right, Allan. Mm-hmm. I applaud anybody who says, I'm going to get the help I need so I don't keep passing this on to my kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking back, I graduated from William Fleming. I don't know if you know, that's in Roanoke.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends, Ronnie Groggins, I think, I'm not good at pronunciations. I already get Jeff and Rich mixed up. But he was a star running back, and he was in the house where he got shot over coke and crack. And one thing that amazes me is people that are in tough situations. Some of them are the most entrepreneurial people. And but I just have ancillary stories, and things such as that. But Jeff, I really, really appreciate all that you're doing. And from Lynchburg, we thank you. Because if I'm correct, it's about 6,000 people that you folks are helping. And that's huge. Even if it was just 6.
Yeah.
You're impacting lives, not only for an eternity, but also for generations.
Yeah.
And so we thank you. I wish we could do this for another hour, but we can't. We get like 2.5 minutes. That being said, I want people who are listening, you have a RMD. You say, what's an RMD? Well, you know what one is. It's a required minimum distribution. And you don't want to pay taxes on it. You know what you can do? You can, if you have an RMD, you can just send it to 518. If you have appreciated securities, you can donate it to 518. If you are looking at I had some people calling me this week. Hey, Allan, where am I in a tax situation? Oh, I got to pay a little bit more. You know what you can do? You can donate and lower your tax burden. So, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you for a little while. How can people give? What are just some of your greatest needs? I know that's 2 big questions.
Yeah.
But, we'll sit here and listen.
That's right. So people can go to our website, 518.org, and they can give that way. If it were an RMD, they can obviously direct their 401k to send that directly to, right, with their fund manager, directly to our main office. We have 10 offices in the South Central Virginia area, and our main office is here in Windhurst, 1621 Enterprise Drive in Lynchburg, 24502. One thing I'd want folks to know is we do what we do without relying on government funds. We believe we're in the strongest position if we don't rely on government funds. So our board says no more government contracts less than 5%.
That's
impressive. Is our way of saying nimble and frankly not being tied down to some of the government contract strings. So that's really helpful to us. It makes it hard for us, but we are donor-driven organization.
That is odd. I didn't realize that. Now, real quick, do you need volunteers?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So go to their website, 518, that's FIVE 18.org. And if you would, contact, not Rich, but Jeff. And I got that right. Amazing. I got Jeff's nice autographed picture, not whatever.
Signature.
Folks, give me a call, 434-316-0246. I want to help you achieve the purpose and plan for your life. 518, helping families achieve their purpose and plan. And Jeff doing a great job. Thank you again, Jeff. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. Folks, I'll talk to you next weekend.
Returns for illustrative purpose. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or use a platform. Only will a suggestion occur after a meeting to determine goals, risk tolerance, and time horizons. Investments involve risks and no guarantee of future results.